Welcome back, everyone. Welcome back to another Cranky Duckling broadcast. Welcome back to the Logic Games #1. I'm of course host VIP, and with me I'm joined by the lovely people in the chat, by these amazing players as well. A big shout out to everyone in the chat. Shout out to the Logic Games, of course, a big organizer, a big person behind this entire event. Shout out to Easy Phil in the chat. Reality, who I believe is adminning this event as well, is working hard behind the scenes. Wormshake, Tater Tutor, and ahí están Soundo as well. ¿Qué tal? ¿Cómo están? Bienvenidos, Shema, everyone. Welcome, everyone, to a blast from the past. Two players that we are very familiar with are duking it out. Two very old school players, very fond, very good friends of the Cranky Ducklings. We have in the top left hand corner the player from Singapore, the Green Protoss, representing Team Hyper 1, one of the sponsors of this very event. It is LeoRusher. And spawning in the bottom right hand corner, we have the ex-Cranky Duckling himself, the Peruvian Terran player, the Red Terran, representing Team Gold Masters. It is NeO. Here we go. Oh my god. NeO just messaged me. He's like, yo, it's like 2021 all over again. True, Papi, true. This is, again, a very old school matchup. Two players that we have casted many times here on the channel. But if you are a new viewer, if you are a more recent addition to the Cranky Ducklings, then you would not be familiar with them. LeoRusher has been a rising star in the Southeast Asian scene for many years. Then he kind of faded away a little bit. He stepped away from the game, recently came back. LeoRusher, back in the day, back in 2019, 2020, 2021, LeoRusher was a rusher. He was nothing but a cheeser back in the day. That's all he did. That's all he knew. That's all he could do. Just all in time and time again. I remember him like just proxy 4, like cannon rush into like 4-gate mass zealots, just non-stop in big events. I remember he was a part of ANZ Champs back in the day as well. That was a regional event in years past as well. That was back in 2019, 2020, if I remember. So again, been a while. But in recent years, 2022, 2023, leading into 2024, LeoRusher is a much more macro-oriented player. We've seen him time and time again in longer macro games instead, and it's been really cool to see LeoRusher grow as a player, adapt as a player, like step away from the cheese and from the rushes and step more into macro, and his macro is pretty damn good. Again, we've casted him plenty of times in regional qualifiers for EPT, for ESL, and it's been great to see him, again, achieve greater and greater heights. Recently joining Hyper 1. Recently did join the team. Meanwhile, across the map, we have NeO, one of the Cranky Ducklings. Our team has a select few number of members. You know, we haven't gone crazy like, I don't know, Alpha X or Platinum Heroes or Berserker Esports. We kind of pick and choose our players wisely, and NeO, he was, as he's going for a 3 racks, did go for a racks expand, economic opener into a 3 racks as a follow-up across the map. LeoRusher likewise going for a gate expand into his tech of choice. It's going to be a Twilight Council opener at a LeoRusher, should be Blink Stalkers. So Blink from our Protoss, 3 racks from NeO. Now, NeO was one of the members of the Cranky Ducklings many years ago, back when we first started our Latin American roster. It was NeO, Ryu, and Eric. That was our Latin American roster back in the day. And of course, NeO did eventually retire. He is a law student and was studying law for quite some years. Fun fact, back in the day, it was like the early years of him studying law. After all these years, after so much time, I was talking to him. This is his final year of law, of his studies, and he is about to become a lawyer. Let's go. Or he's actually finishes and get his law degree, I should say. So really cool to see. Big shout out to NeO again. He is La Tortuga, or El Tortuga, if you will. Back in the day, if you remember, NeO, he was known for doing one thing and one thing only in every single matchup: mech. Mech was his one and only. A big part of that is because NeO used to play on a really old PC, like 20 FPS, like on a really old laptop, I should even say. Borderline integrated graphics sort of thing, and his PC would lag if he played something like Bio, if there was too much on the screen, too much going on. So he couldn't actually, like, he was limited by his own hardware essentially, so he would go for a slower, more like less intensive playstyle, to help with the low FPS, and that was Mech. By the way, he played Mech time and time again. He rose alongside Tavo. Maybe you recognize Tavo. He was another Peruvian Terran player. They're brothers. They're like twins. Two sides of the same coin, and they kind of came in together, really good friends, and improved together as well. I remember being really sad because at the time we could only afford one of them. We couldn't afford to salary both Peruvian Terrans, and we chose NeO because we were a little bit closer to NeO at the time. And we had to break them up because NeO and Tavo, they would go hand in hand, joining the same teams together, like following each other back in the day. Meanwhile, it's 4-gate Blink. I know I was reminiscing of the past, but the Blink Stalkers, they have arrived. We have been building up this 3-rack, so we do have Marauders, we do have Stim, but we haven't wasted it. We haven't used the Stim yet. We have to be very careful again. LeoRusher behind this 3 gateways in the main base, 1 gateway here at the natural 4-gate Blink from our Protoss. We are committed. At the same time, and NeO going to be stimming on forward again, just holding onto that stim a little bit longer. He does have it. There it is. Does use his stim, and he can focus down as many Stalkers as possible here. 3, 4, 5, 6 Stalkers going down. Good trades out of NeO, and he completely shuts this down. 5 Stalkers do remain. Good, efficient trade here out of NeO. Again, he was just holding onto that Blink as long as he could. Sorry, holding onto that stim as long as he could. And barely lost any Marauders. 1 Marauder went down. He bled out mainly Marines. Alas, he cannot move out. He's stuck at home. Ideally, NeO wanted to push with this army, but he's going to be stuck at home instead. He's going to be building himself up. Likewise, LeoRusher transitioning out of this, going to be expanding as he maintains map control, as he contains NeO. Ooh, he's going to be blinking on forward. The bunker isn't done, by the way. Bunker still not done. The Marauders, they do push on forward as well. You have to be very careful with how and when we do stim. We do hold on. Bunker does finish up just in time, and NeO holds on to his natural, but you can see that this time Marauders have fallen. 5 Marauders died in that fight, and we are bleeding out Marauders. Expensive losses here for NeO, not easy to replace. And LeoRusher, he's warping in his face here. Observer is spotted, but it looks like, will it survive? No, it will not. Observer goes down. Ooh, we're bleeding out some of these Stalkers as well, as LeoRusher tries to blink back, trying to preserve his army. Behind this, we're transitioning into another bunker on the high ground, into our starport, factory production, getting into his medevacs, getting into some kind of support for his ground army. Meanwhile, LeoRusher just keeps on warping in units. Again, he does at least have a 3rd finishing up, but he's still committed. Ooh, unable to really break into the main though. Is forced back. And as we settle into this, as we go for another big warp, and a big shout out to Yellow B in the chat. Thank you so much for the raid. Hope you had a great stream. Hope you had, I'm assuming, a good ladder session. I'm assuming you were laddering. Otherwise, let us know what you were up to. But thank you so much for the raid. Do appreciate that. There is a delay. There is a delay on stream, so you will hear this a little bit late. But regardless, thank you so much for the raid. As charge is done, you can see LeoRusher not giving NeO any room to breathe here, even pre-pulling the SCVs. NeO, he was faked out for a moment there, goes to the scan, looking for a backup observer. There is none, and LeoRusher, he finally does back off. Why does he back off? Forge, Twilight Council, Templar Archives. We're getting into the rest of our tech. We're working towards Charge Lot Archon. As LeoRusher backs up towards the center of the map. Meanwhile, we do see NeO still building up here on 2 bases. On 2 bases, working up towards a Ghost Academy. Very interesting, like very tech heavy here on 2 bases. We should have seen a 3rd CC by now. NeO is a little bit supply blocked, but we should have seen a 3rd CC. Don't see one for the time being. As LeoRusher is forced to recall. Ooh, pretty big reaction to a single Marine, by the way. A little bit of an overreaction there by LeoRusher. That means that we do not have another recall available here for our Protoss. It is a little bit concerning. Meanwhile, I assumed it was just going to be Charge Lot Archon with Stalkers, but no, we're doubling down, and we are committing here to splash damage. We're committing to the Storm. Storm is on the way for LeoRusher. 4th base as well. NeO, his 3rd is quite heavily delayed. I am concerned. I'm concerned regarding the timing of this 3rd base. Would have assumed it would have been a little bit earlier, a little bit faster. Alas, it is not here, not yet. But NeO is going to be pushing out. When it comes to the details of this tournament, we'll go over it once we do wrap up Game 1. For the time being, the Logic Games, of course. Logic in the chat, big organizer, supporter. Without him, this event could not be possible. It is open. We'll get into the overall prize distribution later on, but here we go. We do push on forward. Storm is done! EMP's here on the Zealots. Big mine shot as well on those Zealots, but we do come in from a flank, and the Storms, they are going to be thrown down. Big connection here on the Bio, on the Marines, on the Marauders, and NeO, he has to back off. Does retreat. And we still have 3 more Storms available, 4 High Templar in total in that Prism. And with those Storms, there's no pushing in. Not with this Bio army. We're so battered, we're so bruised. We do have Ghost, which is good, if only Storm wasn't a factor. Meanwhile, NeO is taking his 3rd. Has a comparable worker count to LeoRusher, I will say that. 60 workers to the 65 of LeoRusher, plus mules on top of that. So NeO, he's going to be in a bit of a better position. Here we go. A massive amount of Zealots. No bunkers. No bunkers. No Widow Mines. EMP. Big EMP here on those Zealots. Here come the Storms. Ooh, and some juicy Storms here. Oh my god. Just covering the entire army. Not like this. We have run out of High Templar. We've run out of Storms. Widow Mines are trickling on in. Can we hold? It's going to be a tight defense here. NeO, do we have another EMP for these Archons? For these Zealots, we do not. And LeoRusher, he's breaking on through. The boys are being pulled. They were pulled for a moment. Here, ooh, EMP grazes the army. But not the best connection. Yeah, we're just stutter stepping back, kiting back here to the natural, to the main. But LeoRusher, it looks like he may just have too much. He killed 20 SCVs. Oh my god. We had 60 up, coming up to 65. Now we're down to 45 workers. 3rd base was denied. We can now land it on location, but NeO, he has lost so much already. Not like this. Meanwhile, LeoRusher just warping in another wave. Again, his momentum is real here. He's efficiently mining here from 4 bases. NeO, he scans for the 4th, but he misses it. He doesn't know, doesn't see that the 4th was taken at the left-hand side. On the left-hand side instead, we're getting into double Colossus production. It's now not just about the Storm, it's about the Colossus as well. And NeO doesn't know. Not like this. I'm catching up in the chat. As LeoRusher is going to be moving out towards the left-hand side. Mine shot going to be going up. Ooh. Okay, we do connect here with some of these Zealots. More mine shots going to be connecting, but there's just too much. There's too much Protoss. The Death Ball is real. Nice EMP here on the Stalkers and on the Archon. No, as we do get a bit of latency here. A little bit of latency, and hopefully things do clear up here as... Ooh, that may be on our side. Yeah, we are breaking on through. Again, the Colossus going ham. NeO desperately trying to hold on here, but he has lost his 3rd base. He's losing his Marines. Yeah, and LeoRusher is breaking on through. It's just too much. GG gets called, and LeoRusher will take game number 1. GG. I'm just checking. Our connection to Twitch and OBS is fine. Our connection to the stream is fine, but I was looking, and our connection to the StarCraft server was a little bit high. We got up to 500 ping towards the end. If our connection to StarCraft is hold on. If our connection to StarCraft is a little bit shaky, then we will step out of game, of course. We don't want to be a nuisance to the players. Also, my apologies, I'll fix up the races here, as LeoRusher is a Protoss. Is a Protoss, and we will be sorting that out. Oh yeah, StarCraft is being quite slow. Lovely. So just making the lobby, setting up for our lovely and beautiful players. As we get ready for game number 2. Beautiful. But yeah, just quickly winding it back a little bit here. If you're curious what this event is, I don't know if this is going to be a series. It is number 1, so there's maybe a hope for future events like this. Maybe there's a hope for future events. It looks like we do have a bit of a lobby bug. So maybe there's going to be a number 2, a number 3, a number 4, a number 5 in the future. I'm looking at you, Logic. It's possible. But yeah, this is an event organized by Logic, Reality, Shiny, and Hyper One, of course, with some wonderful sponsors. Speaking of wonderful, apparently one of the sponsors is Wonderful Events. I'm unfamiliar with the sponsor itself, but a big shout out to Wonderful Events, to Hyper One, and to Logic as well for bringing this all together and allowing this event to happen. The other really nice thing about this event is that there are bonus prize pools! Exclamation mark B. Exclamation mark B in the chat if you guys want to have a look at the back of yourselves. If you guys want to have a look at the Liquipedia page, you can see the breakdown of the prize pool distribution. You can see how everything is lined up. And there's a bonus prize pool for the players under 6k, under 5k, and under 4k as well. So if you are a lower tier player, if you're lower ranked, if you're not a pro, then you can of course still walk away with some money, which is really cool. Really cool to see that there is a way to gain some kind of benefit here, even if you don't place highly. So definitely am looking forward to seeing who can make a deep run and who has the luck of the draw. Really, it's kind of bracket luck. Like, if you're a 4K player, like, depending on the bracket, maybe you can make a deeper run than another 4K player. So there's an opportunity. There's definitely an opportunity. It's possible that we may see some ties, so we may like roll the dice and flip some coins to determine who gets that bonus. Regardless, that's going to be available. Likewise, it is going to be overall a $400 prize pool. $400, 400 USD, pretty big prize pool. It's also going to be providing OSC points. OSC, they have partnered with this event. They're, I'm sure, also helping to fund it a little bit as well. And to reiterate, this event is open to all. It's open to all players. Yes, there is a bonus for lower league players, but it's open to any kind of pro gamer as well. So all players can and have joined to be a part of this lovely community event. And here we go, spawning in the top right hand corner of Hecate, we have our blue Protoss player from the land of Singapore, representing Team Hyper One, leading the series 1-0. It is LeoRusher. And spawning in the bottom left-hand corner, we have his opponent. We have La Tortuga himself, the ex-Cranky Duckling, now representing Team Gold Masters, the Peruvian Terran. It is NeO. NeO versus Leo. That is not confusing. But yeah, these are two really good friends of the Ducklings. There's a world where maybe they could have both been on the Ducklings as well at a time. I remember us looking at LeoRusher, considering him at a time as well for maybe supporting him. Nowadays, we focus a little bit less on our team. Like our roster has since shrunk quite a bit. For those that are curious, in years past, we decided to stop making our events and to start focusing on player acquisition instead and funding a team. That was back when we competed in WTL. Fun fact, that was back when we competed in WTL and all that stuff. That was back when we had some excess funds. Our funding was cut, essentially. We got a little bit less support on Twitch. We got less jobs as well. I don't mind, saying that, but it was Beowulf and Steadfast. They started getting B-stream gigs more often than we did, and they started taking them just more often, period, so we wouldn't get, like, paid jobs for ESL or anything anymore. So because, work dried up a little bit for us, and we had to cut back, and part of those cutbacks was our pro team, was our pro roster, which is why we haven't been looking to acquire any additional Cranky Ducklings. With our reduced the amount of money that we have available, we've been hosting events instead, which is also why we always want to champion and spotlight whenever these new events do pop up, because we do know that it's a lot of work. It's a lot of work to host. It's a lot of work to really organize. And yeah, again, a big shout out to Logic, to Hyper One, to everyone involved It's really cool to see this, and hopefully it does continue. Hopefully it does continue. And a shout out to Hyper One, doubly so, for investing into making their own team. It's a relatively new team, but Hyper One, he's picked up Koreans, he's picked up like players from all around the world here, doing his best to support them while he can, I'm sure. I'm sure these players, they do appreciate the support as well. Really cool stuff. Again, I brought this up because, you know, NeO, he did eventually retire. He left the Cranky Ducklings. Likewise, we didn't really have the funds to keep him if he did decide to stay on anyway. And, you know, he's been on and off. He's been stepping away from the game, dipping back in wherever he can. He's a part-time player nowadays. He's a part-time player repping Gold Masters. Gold Masters is an old-school Latin American team, I believe focused in Peru, or in the Peruvian scene. So really cool to see that he has found a home in Gold Masters, and hopefully we can see an ace match. I mean, clearly, we saw how close it was last game. We had some really nice fights and really nice engagements from NeO. Unfortunately, he did kind of fall behind in the economy, and he was outscaled by LeoRusher. We'll see if we can bounce back here, as we are getting into a 1-1-1. Getting its tank production, Liberator production as well. Across the map, we do have, once again, a very aggressive build. It's going to be a Twilight Council opener into Blink. We do have 2 gateways done, a 3rd gateway on the way, a 3rd gateway on the way. If you remember, game 1 was 4-gate Blink from LeoRusher. Here, in game number 2, 3-gate Blink, which leads into a faster 3rd. This is less of an aggressive opener and a safer opener instead. We're still pushing, okay? We're still pushing with the Prism. We're still moving out with Blink Stalkers. But because we're spending less resources when warping in less Stalkers, we have excess resources instead to expand. So we will be taking a faster 3rd base behind this. LeoRusher, I'm sure the goal here is to maybe give NeO a heart attack. Is maybe force him to overreact. Make him believe that it's 4-gate Blink and get away with a faster 3rd. And there it is. 3rd base is on the way. At the same time, NeO does get into the natural. Worker damage is going to be done here. Probes are going down. Liberator is going to be going ham at the natural. Probes are falling at the same time. LeoRusher, he does rock up. And do we commit? We do. We dive on top of the tank. 1 tank going to be going down, but the bunker is going ham. We're bleeding out a lot of Stalkers. Stalkers are falling left and right. This was not worth it. Oh my god, so many Stalkers just went down. We got 4 probe... Sorry, we got how many probe kills? 5 probe kills. Liberator does escape. At the same time, 8 Stalkers went down for 1 tank. That was not a worthwhile trade for LeoRusher whatsoever. NeO, he does defend, he does trade more efficiently, deals some economic damage across the map, and the 3rd CC is on the way, a much faster 3rd by NeO. And this is what he is known for. I mentioned at the start, NeO, back in the day, he did one thing and one thing only, that was play mech, and he got a reputation, he got a nickname. La Tortuga, papi. The turtle, if you will. Tortuga is turtle, or tortoise in Spanish. And what do we see? We see 2 more factories. We have Hurricane Thrusters being researched. Mech is coming out, a rarity against Protoss. But this is where NeO does thrive. He was kind of going against his innermost nature in game 1, but here in game 2, he is embracing that inner demon, the inner turtle that does want to be free. I'm here for it. I'm ready. Let's make it happen. Ay, ay, ay. Let's go. As behind this, we do see 3rd base being taken. NeO, he does scan, he does confirm. Meanwhile, big shout out, of course, in the chat to Duke of... Oh. Duke of Sternutation. Thank you. Thank you so much for subscribing for 2 months. 2 months. Thank you so much. Hope you have enjoyed the content. Hope you've enjoyed your time. Enjoy the emotes. Join us on Discord and you will gain access to replay packs from events that we have permission to share replay packs of. So thank you so much for the support. Gracias, papi. Gracias. Quack. Quack, quack. For 2 months. Thank you so much. Thank you everything you do for StarCraft and the RTS genre. You're welcome. You're welcome. We do what we can. We do what we can. We do as much as we can. As much as we can. I'm just catching with chat. Yes, we will have future events, right, Hyper? Oh. We will, right? Yeah, exactly. It's number one of at least 10, really. Let's be real. Behind this, we're getting into Blue Flame. We're building up the tank count. Interesting that we prioritize Hurricane Thrusters, even though we only made 2 Cyclones. So a little bit of an odd choice is what I will say for NeO. And I'll be honest, I haven't seen NeO play mech on the new patch with the new Cyclones. I'm unfamiliar. So I'm ready. I'm ready to be introduced. Behind this, LeoRusher just expanding, getting on up to 3 bases, working towards Colossus production. This time, no Archons. This time, no Storm. We do have Charge, but a very different composition, a much more standard composition. What you would expect to be seeing here in a straight-up meta TVP. Outside of course, what NeO is doing. I was mainly referring to LeoRusher. Hallucination comes in, and I'm sure even if he didn't see all those factories, which, let me just double-check. Yeah, he did see 2 factories. I mean, he also saw Hellions, Hellbats, Tanks, Cyclones. He sees the lack of bio, should know it's mech. With the realization of mech, we getting into upgrades, second robo. Now, against mech, you want Immortals. And there it is. Immortal production has commenced. This tells me that LeoRusher knows exactly what he's up against. He knows what he needs. Immortals, they are king against all things mech. Now, I did mention, I'm not too familiar with the dynamic of the new Cyclone in this matchup, but I imagine we're going to be getting into Charge Lot, Archon, Immortal. Charge Lots do a great job at soaking and tanking damage. Immortals do a great job at just chipping away and chunking away at everything mech related, so they do work well hand in hand, as LeoRusher will take his 4th. Behind this, NeO just getting into additional factories. We do have drilling claws on the way. Blue Flame is done. Again, we're just investing into every mech upgrade. We already threw down double armory for double upgrades. The armories, they're going ham here. And I'm concerned because LeoRusher is kind of embracing a longer game. He's knocking down rocks, working on his upgrades, getting his 4th. We're in for a bit of a longer one here. NeO, he most likely isn't going to push out until he's maxed. It's going to take a while. Going to take a while for him to take a 4th base. A pretty secure 4 base setup here on Hecate. He's going to be maxing out. I'm concerned that LeoRusher is going to let this happen. Now, what I will say is that even if LeoRusher wanted to be aggressive, and even if he wanted to be in the face of NeO, now is not the time. Right now, we have to wait for NeO to expand. The reason why I say this, when NeO does expand, when he takes a 4th base, he's going to split up his army. He's going to unsiege and rotate his tanks around, and he will be spread thin, or at least thinner than he is now. Right now, he's like consolidated. Like, his army is concentrated here in this location. We can't push into this. There's no shot. We have like a line of tanks, and it's just not going to happen. Just the high concentration, the density of tanks here is too much. But eventually, he should expand, and that is when Leo can strike. LeoRusher, I mean. Takes down a unit, takes a 5th base. LeoRusher himself is focusing on maxing out. And again, we're waiting for the opportune moment. And as we say, we can see here, what have we left? 2 tanks. 2 tanks are left here at the 3rd base. Most of the army is moving on the right-hand side, but it looks like we are pushing. Here we go. NeO is pushing. He should be expanding behind this army. Does move out, does have eyes on the expansion. And he will lay siege on this base at the same time. LeoRusher has an option. He could go for a base trade, but no, he turns back around. Ooh, he wants to collapse on this army. Tanks are sieged. How many tanks? 14 tanks! Oh my god, almost as many tanks as there are zealots. 14 tanks versus 18 zealots. Let's go. Nexus is going to go down. Overcharge. Ooh, a bit premature. We're not really doing much with this overcharge, so a little bit trigger happy there by LeoRusher. But here we go. We're going for the surround. We coming from behind. We coming from the front. The tanks are going ham. Zealots are getting annihilated. The Immortals, they're going ham. I love the hallucinations. Tanking some shots. Soaking some damage. The surround is beautiful here for LeoRusher, and it looks like he just collapses on the army. From both angles, the sandwich is real, and the Protoss is snowballing out of control. Yeah, just an awkward position for NeO. If it was a head-on fight, NeO would have been in a beautiful position, but the surround was real. The angle was too good, and LeoRusher, he's going to keep on pushing. How many tanks? We went from 14 to 5. 5 just now coming out. Tanks are falling left and right, and LeoRusher, I believe he has done it. He's broken the back of NeO. There are still 4 Immortals, 2 Colossus. The Robo army is still standing strong. Really smart of him to make use of the hallucinations. Honestly, we saw the hallucinations, they tank like at least 2, maybe 3 shots from those tanks. 3 volleys from the tanks, more importantly. Did such a great job again with that engage. Soaking that damage. Natural base has been broken. And LeoRusher is not going to stop. He's not going to slow down. And we're pushing on forward here onto the tanks. And again, the Mass Immortal greater than the Mass Tank. GG gets called, and LeoRusher will take the series 2-0. GG. Let's go. GG, well played. Congratulations to LeoRusher as he does take the series, does advance on over not an easy opponent like NeO. Like, I have a soft place in my heart, a soft, like, fond memories of NeO back when he was on the Cranky Ducklings, and he's not a bad player whatsoever. But I did mention that he is not full-time. I did mention that NeO, he is, you know, a part-time player here. He is a full-time student, and of course he's, you know, he is about to become a lawyer. He's in his final year of his law degree, and he is about to become a lawyer, an abogado, if you will. And I do look forward to lawyer NeO out in the world and, you know, making a name for himself. You know, continuing with his life and having a good one, I'm sure. So much love to NeO, again, coming back here for a brief instance, and, you know, did put on a show, did whip out the mech, didn't take down his opponent, but GG nonetheless. GG, well played. NeO, he is eliminated from the tournament, and LeoRusher advances on into the next round. And we need to take a moment here to figure out what the hell is going on.